WICR.
Hello, Iona College. Welcome back to the Sports Vault. Jersey Joe and Big Shot Rob rolling along, going to finish the end of the AP Top 10 now. Let's go on to Michigan State at number 8. Michigan State 6-1 beat Indiana 56-17 this weekend. And you know what? You've got to be really wary of everyone in the Big Ten, especially Michigan State. I mean, the Big Ten is very weak right now. Michigan State, I'm totally selling Michigan State. I don't like them at number 8 at all. I mean, the last 3 weeks have been very unimpressive to me. Nearly lost to Nebraska. Struggled to stop Purdue's offense. Purdue might have one of the worst offenses in the country. And then this weekend they beat an Indiana team that's just not that good. Offensively, Connor Cook has played well. 15 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. But at the end of the day, the defense was the calling card last year. It's what I thought put them above everyone else in the Big Ten this year, but that just hasn't proved true. I think at the end of the day, you look at the way Ohio State's playing. Ohio State should be here at 8 as the best team in the Big Ten. Ohio State has just been unbelievable. The last 4 games, they've had 500 yards in each game. J.T. Barrett has emerged as a terrific player. I mean, J.T. Barrett, you give this kid so much credit. He came into an impossible situation with just such high goals for this Ohio State team, and he lost that one game early to Virginia Tech. You thought everything was going to go downhill for them from there, but he has bounced back, and he is in the zone right now. 20 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and 1,615 yards. They're the best team in the Big Ten by far, and you know what you do. You never count out Urban Meyer's teams. He always figures it out. He's got his quarterback playing really well right now. Ohio State defensively is better than they were last year. I think it's very easy to see right now that Ohio State is clearly the best team in the Big Ten, Rob.
Yeah, most definitely, Joe. And I am really surprised with the play of Barrett. Ever since his loss, Joe, to Virginia Tech, has stepped it up with 17 touchdowns and 1 interception. He has been on fire. I really did not expect this out of him, especially when Ohio State lost Braxton Miller. And when they play Michigan State in 2 weeks, they're going to win it, and they're going to move up big in the rankings.
I agree completely. Let's go to number 9, Georgia. Georgia's 6-1 beat Arkansas 45-32. I think Georgia is a really good football team. No Todd Gurley, no problem for Georgia. The team has really stepped up without him. Beat Missouri 34-0 last week. Now they beat Arkansas. Georgia, as always, is a very good team, but the Georgia fans are never happy with what they get from Mark Richt. They're always just, be happy. The guy wins 10 games every year. You've got a good thing down there in Georgia. Then you go on to the only game left I see for Georgia that they might lose is Auburn, November 15th. That's going to be a very good game, though. I think it's going to, Georgia's always good, and I think they're the most likely team to represent the SEC East and the West. I mean the East, SEC East in the championship game. Missouri is not that good. Georgia's already shown. I mean, they blanked them 34-0. Georgia's clearly the best team in the SEC East. They're going to end up in the championship game representing them. And then you go to number 10, TCU 5-1, crushed Oklahoma State 42-9. I think this is the best offensive team I've ever seen under Gary Patterson. Gary Patterson, very known for his defenses. I mean, he's had some great defensive teams in TCU, but his offense is just so good right now. 5th in points, 45.2 per game. Two interesting games coming up. You've got November 1st, West Virginia. We saw West Virginia. Big win against Baylor. I knew that was coming. In November 8th against Kansas State, Bill Snyder's always got that team in a good position. TCU, I like them a lot. I mean, defensively, they're not as good as they usually are under Gary Patterson, but unusually, they've got a very good offense, and they're going to put up some points in these games. And you look at their quarterback, Trevon Boykin. I mean, 14 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 1,873 yards. Very versatile, runs well, throws when he has to. I think this TCU team is definitely going to keeping my eye. I still have my eye on Kansas State, and then I think aside from a couple of these teams, I mean, we pretty much went over all the top 10. The only problems I have with the top 10 right now is I probably think Kansas State is going to be on here eventually, probably over TCU. I think Ohio State, you switch with Michigan State. I think you have a very accurate top 10, Rob. Do you have any problems with the current top 10?
No, not really. Just Florida State but they're undefeated. They've done what they've done, but I'm just not sold on them whatsoever as a team.
We are completely in agreement as usual. And then let's go on now. Now, Rob, before we switch gears to baseball and the NFL, I have to do a public service announcement to the Florida Gators. I mean, now let's start right here. Missouri played Florida this weekend. Florida was the home team. Missouri had 119 yards of total offense and won the game 42-13. Now, you're probably, if you weren't watching the game and you don't know what happened, you're probably scratching your head saying, how do you win a game 42-13 when you have 119 yards of total offense? And I'll tell you how. The Florida Gators have probably one of the just most awful, just hard to watch, paint drying worthy offenses in college history. I mean, this offense is just horrendous. Defensively, Florida's outstanding. I mean, the fact that they held them to 119 yards and still lost 42-13, it was special teams and offense that lost this game for Florida. Turnovers on offense, giving up punt returns on special teams. But this defense is tremendous. I mean, what else do you expect from Will Muschamp? He's always been a defensive guy, but Florida's offense, it doesn't matter if you have Jeff Driscoll at quarterback or if you have Treon Harris. Jeff Driscoll's got 6 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. I mean, Florida is just a mess offensively. This is so bad. You can't even watch it at times. It's so bad. They play Georgia this week. I think we know how that's going to go. Georgia's going to run over them. And now, Rob, we heard last year Will Muschamp, a lot of calls for his job, but he had a good excuse last year. You had so many injuries, both sides of the ball. He really had an excuse, but right now, he's running out of excuses. I mean, especially after this game, losing it the way they did, really seeing how bad this offense is. He really hasn't built a consistent offense in this program. Defensively, he's done a great job, but offensively, he hasn't done anything. So I ask you, is this it for Will Muschamp? Is his time in Florida coming to an end?
Oh, most definitely, Joe. And when you look at this game, Joe, on Saturday, you lost to a team that the opposing quarterback only threw for 20 yards.
Oh my God,
20 yards.
That's the part that bothers me the most. Matty Mock is not good. He had 20 yards and you lose the game 42-13. It's unthinkable.
I don't even know how that's possible, how you lose that type of game. 20 yards? Are you kidding me? This is embarrassing to the whole program. Ever since Urban Meyer left, the program has gone down so much. And you know what? He needs to get fired. They need to bring somebody in because Florida is a big program, a big-time school, and I hate to see them the way they are right now.
Rob, can we find a way to get Tim Tebow back there, please?
Oh,
please?
I wish even Tebow could help.
Pair him with that defense, and you got something.
Yeah, Tebow's a miracle worker. He can do anything.
Before we switch gears, though, I do also have to give credit to West Virginia. West Virginia is kind of a weird team. They're kind of hard to figure out, but West Virginia is when they come to play, they're really good. 5-2. You give their quarterback Clint Trickett a lot of credit. 15 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. And I said it last time, Rob, when you weren't here. I've never been sold on Baylor. You look at Baylor against when they play ranked top teams, they're very suspect. I just think West Virginia, it was about time. Baylor was going to lose eventually. And West Virginia is not a bad team, not at all. But let's switch gears, Rob, to your thing, the baseball. The World Series will be starting tomorrow on Tuesday for the matchup on the mound. You've got, I'm sorry, Rob, do you have it? Who's Bumgarner against Shields? Very good matchup there. But, Rob, what I want to ask you is this a matchup that is good for baseball? I mean, is the average sports fan, the occasional baseball watcher, are they really going to get up and go out of their way to go and watch this series?
I believe so, Joe. And my reason is first, if you look at the Kansas City Royals, it's the first time in 29 years that they've been to the World Series, and you've just been waiting for so long for this to happen. And then you look at the Giants, which is a typical fan favorite, Joe. 3rd time in the World Series in the past 5 years. They've been a favorite dating back to the days when they were the New York Giants. And I think, you know what, the typical fan will watch this series.
Here's what I'm worried about, Rob. I'm kind of worried about. I think this is not a good matchup for baseball. I think in the postseason as a whole, you look at the American League, there were no extra games played in the American League. You had the Orioles sweeping the Tigers, and then you had the Royals sweeping the Angels. No extra games played. You got no excitement out of these series. I mean, it was just one team was just dominant, hands down the dominant team. In the NL, it was a little bit closer, but still not by much. I just think, can the average fan name 2 players on the Royals? I mean, you look at this team offensively. I mean, can the average baseball fan really pick out Billy Butler, Eric Hosmer, Alex Gordon? Good baseball players, but where's the star power with this team that, I mean, let's face it, people wanted Dodgers, Tigers, Angels, Dodgers. We wanted to see Mike Trout against Clayton Kershaw. We wanted to see Justin Verlander on the mound in a duel against Zach Greinke. We want the stars, and I like the Giants as well, but it's the same thing. I mean, Madison Bumgarner, very good pitcher, but who's their star in that team? Buster Posey, quiet guy. I mean, this just, I think for baseball right now, it's exciting if you're a baseball fan because you know these two teams are good. It's going to be a good watch, both teams playing very well. But if you're the occasional guy, I don't know what would get you to really just lock in and be really drawn to it.
Joe, I'm drawn to it though. I know it's not a lot of big names, but I've just been so impressed with the pitching and the defense I've seen on the field. That's my main reason for it. I just love the pitching. I love when it's a lot of pitching duels all the time.
See, I agree. I think for you're a huge baseball fan, and as am I. And I think for us, for watching the games, you see it's been good, and it looks like it's going to be a good series. But I just think the outside fan who baseball needs to, baseball needs to get the guy who's watching the Thursday night, the Monday night football games instead of these baseball games. And if you're flipping through the channels and you see the Royals and the Giants, I just don't know if you're going to get that fan to commit to the game there. But we'll definitely see. I mean, we're going to look at the ratings. We'll come back on here when we have those ratings and see. I mean, it should be an exciting series, though, Rob. I want to know, you picked the Giants at the beginning when we picked these teams, so you've been really spot on with your picks. Who do you have winning it all?
I still have the Giants.
Sticking with your pick?
But in order to beat the Kansas City Royals, Joe, you're going to have to get past Derek Holland, Wade Davis, and Herrera. Because those guys in the bullpen have been killing so far in the playoffs. 23 innings, 2 runs, 29 Ks in 8 games. And if you can't hit past those guys, you're really going to struggle.
I agree. I mean, I think the really exciting thing for me in this series is both teams are coming in playing just so hot. I mean, both teams built very similarly. I mean, very good starting pitching, very good bullpens, not the best offenses, but you know what? When they need hits, they've been coming up and getting them. I mean, you have hot bats. Eric Hosmer's bat's been really hot. For the Giants, you've got a lot of guys who have been really hot hitting the baseball when they need the hits. So everything is lining up for a really exciting series here. I don't know. I think I'm going to go with you as well, Rob, the Giants here. I think the Royals are a good team, but they haven't been here before. The Giants have been in this spot so many times. They've got the guys who know what it takes to get it done here, and they've shown they've won 2 World Series in the last couple of years. They're going to get it done again, I think. But this leads to my next point, Rob, and kind of to going back to my first point. Why is it that we're seeing the Giants consistently getting to World Series, and we're not seeing these teams with the Dodgers, the Giants, the Tigers, the teams with the star-studded lineups? Why aren't they consistently getting to the World Series? And the Giants have gotten to 3 now in the last couple of years.
First of all, Joe, I'm going to start off with the Giants. It's based off of experience, Joe. These guys are hungry every single year. We've seen it through them. And you want to know why teams like the Detroit Tigers don't make it? They don't build up their bullpen the way the Giants do. With the Giants, you could have a guy who goes 4 innings pitched, will start off bad in a playoff game, but then you have to worry about the other 5 innings of bullpen just shutting you down, 0 earned runs. And I think you also have to look at it from the coaching aspect of Bruce Bochy. Bruce Bochy knows how to run a team, and I just love the way he does it. He knows when to pull his pitchers out at the right time, protects his team, and he knows how to finish.
Do you think also it's more about depth now on teams? I mean, you look at some teams where they put all their money into these stars, and the rest of the lineup really suffers. And then you look at a team like the Giants, not a lot of star power. I mean, you've got good bats like Buster Posey and Pablo Sandoval, Hunter Pence, but those guys aren't really in the same conversation as a Mike Trout or a Josh Hamilton. But the one thing you see though is all the bats in that lineup can handle themselves when you need the hits. Same thing. I mean, you've got good bullpen, good starting pitching, depth. Is depth in building a roster like the Royals have done, is that kind of the new formula for creating a World Series caliber team?
Yeah, it really is, because, Joe, you look at these other teams, how much money can you keep pouring in? Like, you look at the Dodgers, how much money are you going to keep pouring in and yet you're not finishing whatsoever. You have Adrian Gonzalez in your lineup, Matt Kemp, so much guys that you invested so much into, and they're just not failing. And then you look at the Giants, and they're just so stable because they can keep going.
I agree. I think it's definitely something that we're going to keep taking a look at. And I think GMs are really going to start to look at, because you just see all the big payroll teams, and they're just not. I mean, it's not like the Giants don't have a big payroll, but I mean, they build their team differently. And I think it's definitely something people are going to start to take a look at, because the teams that are winning have shown you what? Depth. And it's in sports in general, it's a copycat leagues all over the place. When one team does something one way, everyone else tries to copy that. So I think in baseball, we're definitely going to start to see teams kind of reevaluate. I mean, look at the Mariners. The Mariners go out and spend all this money on that one bat, Robinson Cano, and I think it's amazing how far Robinson Cano took that team. But it shows you at the end of the day, you need depth. You need depth in starting pitching. You need depth in the bullpen. And teams like the Tigers didn't have that depth. I don't know about the Dodgers, because I think they do have depth. I just think they're kind of different, because, I mean, you look at the starting pitching there, 1 to 3, very good, 4 and 5, kind of weak. Mm-hmm. But it's, hitting-wise, I mean, that lineup is ridiculous. So, definitely some good stuff there. Let's keep on rolling along, though. We're going to save football for last, Rob. We are so excited for the basketball season to come around. I mean, there's only 9 days until the NBA season is back in action. I mean, it's just going to be so good. We're going to come on. We have our Radiothon next Tuesday. We will be on 11 to 12. It's not a problem if you can't watch it. It'll be on YouTube as well, but we're going to pick all the 1 to 8, the conferences, East and West. But for now, Rob, kind of just everybody give a little taste of the NBA season. I want you to tell me, how's the league right now? How healthy is it? The interest, the appeal of the league. How is the health of the NBA right now?
I mean, the health is all right, Joe. Like, I'm interested, but you look at like some key losses right now, like Paul George, Kevin Durant. It's really going to kill the league somewhat, because without those guys, those are like the big primetime guys you want to see on television, and that's really going to hurt them right now.
I think that's a good point. I mean, it's one of those things where I think fans sometimes get excited when a big player goes down, because it gives their team a better chance. But I've never looked at it that way. I mean, I think as fans in general, I just want to be entertained. I mean, I don't want to see Paul George getting hurt and being out for the year. He was such a pain in my neck watching him against the Miami Heat, but it provided such good basketball to watch, and that's what you want at the end of the day. You want to be entertained, and it makes the sport better when Paul George is healthy, Bradley Beal's out when he's healthy, when Kevin Durant is healthy. It's not good for the sport, so that's definitely tough to see there. But I think as a whole, I mean, look, the thing that's really been good for the NBA the last couple of years is just been the emergence of these super teams, especially with LeBron, the Heat, and now the Cavs. It gives everybody something to rally behind, because you either love LeBron and you hated him and you rooted against him, or you're all in, you want to see it. But regardless of how you felt about LeBron, you were tuned in because you wanted to see him fail or you wanted to see him succeed, and I think it's been really good for the NBA.
Most definitely has, Joe. LeBron James, when you look at him, how everybody wants him to fail, and just the way he's really stepped it up and surprised everyone. But going back to Paul George and stuff, Joe, I don't want to see Paul George out. I don't want to see Kevin Durant out, because I like seeing competition every single day of the week.
Absolutely. Now let's go on, Rob. Early MVP picks. I want you to give me your early MVP pick, very early, but you know what? I think it'll be fun to pick right now.
This is the most surprising pick, Joe, I've ever had to make. I'm going with Anthony Davis of the New Orleans Pelicans.
That is a phenomenal pick right there. I really like that pick.
Thanks, Joe. The reason why I chose Anthony Davis, Joe, is, first of all, we look back from Davis's rookie year where he averaged 13.5 points per game, 8.2 rebounds per game. He only played 60 games. Then you look at last year, 66 games, 20 points a game, 10 points per game, 10 rebounds per game. He's really stepped it up.
Oh, my God.
And he's only 21 years old. He's only going to get better. He's not even in his prime yet. And he is going to completely dominate, I think, in the West. He's going to be a double-double machine. And you look at the guys he has around him, the Cavs, Tyreek Evans, Eric Gordon, Drew Holiday. If they stay healthy, they're going to be a dangerous team. But Anthony Davis, you better watch out for him. He is playing just like the way he did in college. He will block you, he will out-rebound you, and he will finish on you every time.
I think that is such a good pick, because I think fans who don't follow the NBA very closely started to see with Team USA this year how much he's improved. I mean, year 1 to 2 for his improvement was unbelievable. He's probably becoming the new most versatile player in the NBA. I mean, this is a guy who blocks shots. He's expanded his mid-range game so well. I mean, he's such a more dynamic offensive player now. He does everything on the court, everything you could want him to do. He's got size, he moves well with the ball, he plays defense, he plays well at the basket, away from the basket. This guy really does it all. In year 2, you saw how much of an improvement his game took. He's now a double-double machine. He's so good, Anthony Davis. I think that's a really good pick. The only thing I worry about with him, though, is the Pelicans, just because the West is so brutally tough. I mean, there are so many good teams in the West, and I just don't know if the Pelicans really stack up with the best 8 teams in the West, but I agree with you completely. I mean, Anthony Davis has as good a chance as anybody to win the MVP. For me, Rob, I think you know where I'm going. I mean, come on. Of course, you got to go with LeBron James. Here's what I kind of am worried about why I think he might not win it, though. I think at the end of the day, you've got to put him as the favorite. The only thing I don't know about him, though, is I've watched him a lot so far in the preseason. The preseason is not a very good indicator, but it's still something. I think LeBron might be looking to maybe take it back a little bit on the scoring front. I think he's really looking to kind of be more of the facilitator. I mean, Kyrie Irving, of course, is going to be the main guy. The offense is going to run through him. But I think LeBron at this point is kind of looking, I mean, from what I've seen in the preseason, to kind of really be the guy who's going to facilitate the offense, maybe not have to do as much on the offensive end. And I don't know, I think maybe if his scoring numbers are down a little bit, that might not help him, but he does everything well. I mean, defensively, he's always showing up. He takes good shots. His efficiency is unbelievable. Most efficient player in the NBA. Everything he does well. But I don't know if playing with this current Cavs team is kind of going to maybe knock him down a little bit. What do you think about that?
I think his stats are going to drop a little bit, Joe, this is Kyrie's team now.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to have it more around Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving. He's done his job, LeBron James, with scoring with the Miami Heat. And I could see him, as you just said, going into that facilitator role, passing the ball more, rebounding. That's just how LeBron James is. He could change his game. He doesn't have to be a dominant scorer. But even if he changes his game and his points drop, he could be the MVP, Joe, because just because your points drop does not mean you have to look at the other aspects of his game, his defense and his assists per game, how he rebounds. And that's why I think you could keep LeBron as a candidate for MVP.
Absolutely. Great points there. And that's the good thing, too, about LeBron is he's going to take his scoring opportunities when they're there. And that's the thing I love about him is he's not going to force things when they aren't there. He's not going to take bad shots when he doesn't have them. When he's got the opportunity to make the offensive plays, he's going to make them, and that's why he's so efficient and so good there. But let's stay with the Cleveland Cavaliers for a minute. I want to ask you, who is the most important Cavalier outside the big three? Now, for people who don't follow the NBA very closely, I mean, I'm sure everyone knows by now, Kevin Love, Kyrie Irving, and LeBron James are the new big three, but this Cavaliers roster is star-studded with a lot more very good role players. And who is the most important role player who's not on the big three?
I think Dion Waiters, Joe, because you know what? This is going to be a different year for Waiters. We look at Waiters, Joe, last year, improved in scoring to 15.9 points per game, improved his field goal percentage. But now you look at with the big three he's surrounded around, he's going to have to learn, first of all, the drop in field goal attempts is going to drop. He averaged 14.2 a game last year. He's going to take a dramatic drop this year. He's going to have to learn to be more of a passer and defensive player because with Kevin Love, Kyrie Irving, and LeBron James, a lot of the shots are going to be going to them, and he's just going to have to learn to change his role big time.
I'm on board with you as well. I think Dion Waiters is the most important piece who's not one of the big three. He's a very nice player. If you tell me the fourth best player on your team is Dion Waiters, you've got a lot of depth on that team. Even with the Heat never had a fourth player comparable to Dion Waiters. I mean, you had Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade and LeBron James doing it all, and after that you had nice players, but you didn't have a go-to guy who could be a guy you could really depend upon for scoring. Deion Waiters is a really, really good, promising guy to have at that spot. The one thing I worry about him with a little bit is shot selection sometimes. Sometimes I think he tries to force shots when they aren't there, and his commitment defensively, but I think you've seen that's getting better. I think with LeBron there, that'll definitely be corrected over time. I think it just makes the Cavaliers so much more dangerous because you tell me that you just look at that starting lineup. At center, if Tristan Thompson or Anderson Varejao, I don't care which one, you have Deion Waiters at the shooting guard, at the point guard Kyrie Irving, power forward Kevin Love and LeBron James at small forward. There's no team in the NBA who has a starting lineup with that amount of depth.
Yeah, Joe, that starting five is going to blow out everybody. It's better than what the Miami Heat had for their starting five.
No question.
It blows out the Oklahoma City Thunder. It blows out the San Antonio Spurs in a little bit of a way because they're a much younger, much quicker team. But this starting five, they're going to be really scary this year to watch out for. You really have to watch your backs versus Cleveland. I really think they could go to the NBA Finals this year.
They really are, and we will do our total just NBA coverage galore next week when the season is about to start. Monday and Tuesday next week is going to be so much basketball coverage. I mean, your head's going to spin with all the basketball coverage we'll have. But that's going to end this segment. For our final segment, so much NFL to talk about. So I'll take you into the break with some classic NFL music. And stay tuned with us for a total Week 7 NFL overview.